My name is April Lucas, and I'm going to be doing my book talk on Intensity by Dean Koontz. The genre is suspense and thriller, and it takes place in Napa Valley, California. The key characters are China Shepherd, Edgeler Foreman Vest, and Ariel, and a young girl named Abril. China is a 26-year-old waitress who is studying psychology. She has short black hair and brown eyes. She's a very strong and independent woman because of her horrible childhood. Then there's Edgeler, who is a murder sociopath but likes to call himself a homicidal adventurer. He's tall, strong, and very handsome with blue eyes and thick brown hair. Then there's Abril, a beautiful 16-year-old girl who is being held captive in Edgeler's home. The plot of the story. It begins with China finding out that her best friend and her family has been murdered, so China decides to follow the killer. The killer is unaware that China is following him, and so until he recognizes her and sees her sneak into his mobile home. Edger would planning on killing her, but decides to play a game with her because he finds it fascinating. He finds her fascinating, the fact that he wants to know why she is following him. He later just he lets China go into his house, and China thinking that like, oh, he doesn't suspect anything. So China decides to find Ariel because she overheard Edgeler talking about him to one of the dead people, to one person that Edgeler killed. So China decides he wants to save the girl Ariel. And the passage I'm about to read is China's and Edgeler's first confrontation. Intense, he said, smiling at the revolver in his hand. A pistol lay on the counter across the kitchen, beside the sink, well out of her reach. China couldn't believe this. He had bought a gun of his own, but hadn't used it, had set it aside, and had gone for her barehanded instead. "You're an attractive woman." She looked away from the pistol, hoping that he hadn't noticed that she'd seen it. But she was fooling herself, and she knew it, because he saw everything. He pointed the revolver at her. "You were back there in a service station last night." She was gasping for air, but she didn't seem to be drawing any air. She was breathing too fast and too shallowly. In danger of hyperventilating, she was furious with herself. Furious, because he was so calm. He said, "I know you're there, somehow, somewhere, and I knew you found this cheap special after I left, but for the life of me, I can't figure out why you're here." Maybe she'll be able to get the pistol before he could stop her. It was 1 minute to 1 chance, 2 million to 3. Hell, face it, impossible. From 5 feet away, aiming at the revolver at the bridge of her nose, his voice bubbly with exhilaration, the killer said, "But even though it was an agent's piece, I was walking to the mouth of a dragon here. I was lucky just now. Are you?" Although reaching for the pistol was partly impossible, she didn't have any alternatives. Nothing to lose. With a note of impatience, he said, "Honey, listen to me. Please, I'm talking to you. Do you feel lucky right now? As lucky as I've been?" I chose this passage because I thought it was interesting, and since it was like the first confrontation that Edgeler and China had, and I thought it was pretty interesting. I recommend this book to anyone who likes thrillers. It's actually a really good book, and you can find this book at Half Price Books. And this concludes my book talk.